Good morning. Welcome to our guests at St. Mike's today. It's good to have you. Welcome. One of my heroes, one of my personal heroes, was a guy named Cardinal Francis George. If you've never heard of Cardinal Francis George, he was the Cardinal Archbishop of Chicago for many years, ordained Bishop Robert Barron, if you're familiar with Bishop Barron. And when he entered the seminary, as a boy, he had polio and was crippled for most of his life from polio. And when he entered, they said, you know, we're not really expecting much from you. Just try to hold it together, buddy. You can imagine years later, they were shocked when this kid ended up getting 2 doctorate degrees in theology and became the Cardinal Archbishop of Chicago. Very, very holy man. In 2015, on his deathbed, he turned to his secretary. One of the last things he said, he says, you know, I get why people are afraid of dying. He said, you know, I've been teaching theology my whole life, and I always tell people, don't be afraid to die, don't be afraid to die. But he said, now that it's me dying, it kind of comes home, right? And he said something really interesting. He said, one of the most liberating things that you and I can do for ourselves is to overcome the fear of dying by accepting our mortality. And he said, you know, it's not so much death that we're afraid of, it's the unknown. And what comes after death is unknown to all of us. And I think he's really on to something. St. Francis of Assisi in the 13th century, the way he said it was this, and I'm paraphrasing, he said, you know, he called it Sister Death, who comes at the end of our life to take our hand and lead us to the next phase of our life. In other words, according to St. Francis, death was not this horrible ogre that's coming to follow us. But St. Francis would say, no. Turn around and say, come, Sister Death, let us go into this next phase, because you and I, as we say all the time here, you and I have an immortal soul, brothers and sisters, that will never die. From this day forward, you will never cease to exist, ever. That's the gospel we just read, by the way. You know, it's funny, as a priest, by the end of this year, I will have married 42 couples this year. 42. And often when I'm meeting with couples doing their marriage prep, I tell them, I said, look, guys, one of you at some point is going to bury the other one. I know they get in their car thinking, man, that guy's depressing. Good Lord, right? Talk about Father Raincloud, man. Man, incredible. I need a drink. Right? But it's true. Those of you that have buried your spouses, would you agree? If the goal of heaven is to get this person, the goal of marriage is to get this person to heaven, clearly. Do you know that heaven is mentioned almost 700 times in the Bible? 700 times. I encourage you, by the way, to look them all up. Jesus, my favorite passage that Jesus talks about is with my favorite saint. His name is Saint Dismas. Who is Saint Dismas? Anybody know? Right, exactly. The good thief. Very good. We have Gesmas, the bad thief, Dismas, the good thief. By the way, we still have his cross, the good thief's cross, at Santa Croce in Rome. Luke chapter 23, he's dying next to Jesus. He has a deathbed conversion. He turns to Jesus and says, Lord, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus turns to the good thief and he says, anybody know what? Today you will be with me in paradise. So Jesus refers to heaven as paradise. Sign me up, man. I'll take some of that. I mean, this is good news, is my point. That's the gospel we just read. This is good news. Death is not the end, it's only the beginning. No, it's true. People, I don't think, are afraid to die. I think they're afraid of how they may die and what will come after they die. But I think most people understand that at some point I'm going to turn the page of this thing we call life and enter into this new stage. I think we get that. One of the greatest gifts, brothers and sisters, you and I can give to ourselves is to have peace with our mortality. Anybody, I'm going to go out on a limb here and assume that none of us, raise your hand if you've ever heard the word thanatophobia. Anybody ever heard of thanatophobia? It's not a skin condition, okay? If somebody's thanatophobic, it means they have an impending fear of death. It's the fear of death. They can't relax. What if? They're obsessed with the what ifs. The thanatophobic. It's this ogre. But if we turn around and say, yes, yes. You know what that means? It means you and I will live every second of every single day as if it's a treasure. We need to forgive. By God, I'm going to forgive. We need to love more. I'm going to love more. Because the truth is, for all of us, 200 years from now, whatever problems that you and I have right now will mean nothing. You know what will mean something at that point? How much did you love? That's what's going to mean something. I was naked and you clothed me. I was hungry and you helped me. In prison you came to see me. That's what's going to matter. You know, one of my other heroes was Winston Churchill. I love this guy. It's impossible not to love Churchill. He was a man who was very comfortable with his own mortality. He used to joke. He said, you know, I'm ready to meet my maker, but whether my maker's ready to meet me is another question. He once said, you know, I've never killed a man, but I've read with great joy the obituaries of my enemies. Right? I love that. I love that. Let's do the math, shall we? Let's do the math. Do you know that every single year, 56 million people die around the world? 56 times the size of our city. Every single day, 150,000 people die. Every single day around the world, 350,000 babies are born. Every day. It's a lot of diapers, boy. What's your point, Father? Here's my point. In case you didn't know this, people are constantly leaving and entering the world in a constant, almost figure eight movement according to God's plan. And for whatever reason, for better or worse, you and I are here right now. But the day will come when we will transition out as a natural part of life. And one of the greatest gifts that we can give ourselves is to be at peace with that. Ecclesiastes chapter 3. To everything is a season. A time to live and a time to... It's one of the great tragedies, I think, is that Americans they have an allergy to discussing death. They just don't. Which is, in my opinion, depriving our children and grandchildren of a right that is due to them. But often I don't want to talk about this. So, recently Forbes magazine did a study and they said that the average American keeps their New Year's resolution for 2 months. So if you don't mind, I'm going to give you an idea for your 2026 New Year's resolution. A way to prepare for your own death. Everybody's going to need therapy after they leave here today, okay? So just 5 suggestions to get comfortable with your own mortality. Number 1, your last will and testament. You know what happens when you die without a last will and testament? All of your stuff will go into probate, most likely. You know what that means? More stress and more money for your family. Do your last will and testament. I can't tell you how many smart, intelligent people I've buried that never do this. They advocate it, but they never do it. They never get around, we'll do it, we'll do it, we'll do it. Number two, your durable power of attorney, your POA. Who's going to make medical decisions for you if you are unable to do that? Oh, Father, my wife will do that. Really? Have you talked to her about that? Your advanced directives, what does that mean? Heaven forbid, if you leave here this morning and you're going through Graham and Summer Avenue and somebody runs a light and tonight you're on life support, do you want to remain on life support for the next 3 years? Put it on paper. You know what happens? Let me just tell you what happens if you don't put it on paper. Somebody in your family is going to have to make that hard decision. And you know what happens when they have to make that hard decision? 10 years from now, they're thinking, oh my gosh, did I kill my mother when I took her off life support? I mean, Mom wouldn't want to be on life support for the rest of her life, but did I kill her? Please, please, do not lay that burden on your child or spouse. Number 4, your funeral plan. Where do you want to be buried? What priest do you want? What readings do you want? What music do you want? Usually in every family, there's the one sibling that's the churchy one that goes to church. The other ones are kind of, right? So guess who gets elected to handle the funeral? Mrs. Churchy, right? You got to talk to the priest, right? So guess what happens if your child chooses a reading that their siblings don't like? This is what happens. And some people never let it go. All right, please, do not lay that burden on your child or your spouse. Do it, just do it. And after you get all that together, make copies for everybody so we're all on the same page. Put it in your fireproof safe. All right? Last thing, number 5. Best way to get ready for this transition out of life. When was the last time you went to confession? What year is it, Father? I mean, this is why priests do last rites, right? It's a full absolution. I mean, look, if this is your last year, what would you tell the Lord you're sorry for? Because one day you will brush your teeth and it will be the last time you brush your teeth. One day you will kiss your wife and it will be the last time you kiss your wife. One day you will get dressed and it will be the last time you will get dressed. So I'll close with this. Those of you that have been to funerals, Catholic funerals, you know the drill. We've got a body right here, clothed in white, what they call the funeral pall. Why white? Because white represents new life. That's why a baby is baptized in white. Why a bride is dressed in white, new life. That's why a priest has white around his collar, new life. The person is now in a new life. And this is what the priest says after we incense the body and bless the body with holy water. Quote, "Into your hands, Father of mercies, we commend our brother or sister." Key point, in the sure and certain hope that together with all who have died in Christ, they will rise with him on the last day. Eternal rest grant unto them, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon them. May they rest in peace, requiescat in pace. Lord knows in the Catholic Church we don't do everything well. But one thing we do well is send people home to Jesus. That's why I tell people all the time, at my funeral, please make sure they play Elvis' Return to Sender, okay? Because that's the go. We want to go back to Sender, right? Look, the greatest blessing, one of the greatest blessings that we can give ourselves is to have peace with the fact that we will one day leave this world.